Hello everyone, my name is Crimson and welcome to another Chat and Craft. So today's going to be a little bit different. I'm not actually wanting to get too much into the weird political things and the nonsense that's going on in entertainment. I actually want to take time to talk about something a little bit more close to home. Today is actually my 10-year anniversary of having began my journey as an artist, as a creator, as a storyteller. And given that it's been, 10 whole years, I want to take the time to go a little bit over that and just sort of talk about it for a minute, because I find that my story is a little bit unique, but it's not the most unique. Obviously, every artist has their own different take on story, but I feel like because I tell the weird stories, the way that I have discovered them and learned them is different than what you might see in, say in a polite media. Very different than what you'd see in polite media. Also, for my 10-year anniversary, I have released a new story for FimFiction. It's going to be a adult comedy. Not quite on the level of South Park. Definitely not as offensive and more lewd, because that's me. I'm the pervert. But if you're interested, just go to the Crimson DM at FimFiction and you'll see it. Twilight, the Idiot Succubus. Free for anyone to read, with weekly uploads, hopefully, so long as nothing goes wrong. But we'll put that aside for now, because it really is just it's going to be kind of a symbol of everything that I've kind of learned to enjoy and what I stand for as an author since I've kind of put it all together. So, with me, there's a lot to go over in terms of my history as a storyteller, the things that inspired me, what I've learned. I recently went through a period of time during the most difficult burnout I've ever had for creativity. I've never had burnout this severe before. Some burnout that lasted over a year. And it took a long time to actually get through it. While I was trying to find out how to get through it, I ended up going back to my roots, trying to discover what it was that inspired me, where the core of my creativity comes from. And there's a lot of different places for it. There's older anime, there's video games, there's a couple of manga and comic books, and a lot of cartoons. What really got to me when I was going through this, though, is I had assumed that because I grew up playing the Nintendo and Super Nintendo and even the PS1 era of games, that that's where my core would have been. However, most of that happened before I was 9 or 10 years old. And so, although it is very important and brings back a lot of nostalgia, it was actually the PS2 era of gaming that I found was where my core was hiding. Games like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, like Grand Theft Auto. I know, I probably shouldn't have been playing Grand Theft Auto as a 10-year-old, but screw you guys, I'm going home. Seriously. Even South Park, because I really have always loved South Park. I just can't get enough of it. That's writing perfection, in my opinion. I am a bit envious that Matt and Trey have found each other and they work so good together. I'm like, I would love to find someone that I could create with like that, but so far, no one's been able to super click, but hey, I'll keep trying. Maybe I'll discover something or someone eventually that'll be like, we both want to destroy the world with lewds. But yeah, it was the PS2 game era. That's where I discovered most of my core was. And a lot of those games are pretty darn funny. with a little bit of lewd humor, and a lot of stupid humor, and a little bit of heart to make you feel. And after having played a couple of them and realizing that this is where I come from, I was able to start getting back into writing more. Now, my actual history with writing itself is a bit different. It probably was a telltale sign that even when I first discovered that I could make up my own characters, my own stories, my own everything. I've told this story a few times, but when I was about 12, I was playing with one of my friends. And they were like, let's play superheroes. And I'm like, okay, I'll be Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's always the best. But I want to be the black Spider-Man, because he's slightly edgy. And he's like, no, I mean, make up your own superhero. And that one sentence, just one sentence, blew my mind and started this entire thing. I think I can safely say I would eventually have decided to make my own stuff. But if my buddy had not, at that moment, told me that it was possible to make my own things, I don't know if I would actually be in this same position. I might be in an entirely different place with my creativity. So, for better or worse, I owe all of my creativity and my path to my friend for having brought that idea to my attention. Of course, the first superhero, aka original character I ever made, was Dreamer, the psychic, who, he was psychic, had a bow staff, dealt with a lot of paranormal, spooky stuff like ghosts and demons. Because I really liked psychic Pokemon at the time. That was my favorite type. I still say that my pronouns are dark type and psychic type. What do you mean that that's not how you're supposed to use them? Aren't I allowed to say what I want my pronouns to be? If I want them to be Pokemon types, I will. Dark psychic, that's me. But, seriously, he had kind of blown my mind with that, and soon after that I invented Fyra. And the entire Fyra mythos, the lore, the characters that go together with it. I would love to turn that into some kind of superhero-themed something or another someday, but although I know that that's my year-long kind of goal, that may not happen this year. We're halfway through the year, and I've only barely gotten some ideas on how to get my pony dating sim to work. So what I will probably do is I'll just keep using the Fyra mythos as parts of mythology for each universe that I make, rather than, focus on that as a main thing, just for now. It wasn't too much longer before I, got super deep into anime, thanks to Adult Swim having anime on Saturday nights. So, Big O, Inuyasha, Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho. Then there was Anime Unleashed, which was probably the best anime hour ever. And although it had a couple of animes that were probably not as good as they should be, let's see, I think it was Grave Taker, the guy who basically repeatedly wants to fuck his sister or something, and ends up, fusing with her to, something. It's weird. It's really weird, but I would highly recommend it just because of how strange it is. Codenamed Liane, which I think also had incest, but it was lesbian incest. Magical Shopping Arcade, which, again, incest. I really sat down and thought about it when I was going through that period of trying to figure out my core and realized a lot of the anime I grew up watching, which I probably should not have been watching because they were very mature anime, they basically set in stone the kinds of stories that I like to tell, the kind of weird comedy that I like to have. Eventually, I did discover Magician's Academy, which has never gotten an American translation. It never will. But it's one of my favorite anime of all time. It's just the most wackadoodle, insane nonsense ever. I can even pull at your heartstrings, which is really nice. It's really hard to be able to master both high intense comedy and the ability to make people sob. But like, I did discover a lot of my core foundation comes from older video games, anime, and cartoons. Unfortunately, my investment in anime did eventually come to a grinding halt when another one of the people that I was associated with, I would not call him a buddy because he was never really a friend so much as like a person that played D&D with us a lot. He was just a bit of a psychopath, so I don't think he was capable of having quote unquote friends. But he told me that I should watch Elfen Lied. And I'd been like, Elfen Lied looks interesting, but it looks kind of dark, so I've been avoiding it. He's like, nah, it's a comedy. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that it looked like it was, severely fucked up. And so I watched it. And unfortunately, I needed to have closure with the story after the first episode. I needed to have a good ending, so I kept watching it. It is not a comedy. It has a couple of jokes here and there, but it is just beyond brutal and dark. And I would not actually recommend Elfen Lied to anyone without the warning that it is going to mess you up. If you want to be messed up, good. Go watch it. I can never watch it again. I hate how the bad guys win. Okay, spoiler alert for like a 20-year-old anime. The bad guys win at the end. It's stupid. You don't even get your big epic fights, really. You get like one fight, and it's not that great, and the bad guys win, and I just hate it. It's awful. It is awful everywhere. There is so little hope, so little light in that entire series. I guess there's a little bit of hope that eventually the one girl might grow up and then take revenge, but, that's it. That's all there is to it. And I don't like that. But aside from that, like, that had gotten me to stop watching anime for a long time. When I did pick up anime again, I had taken up this attitude of, I need to review it and make sure the ending is at least okay before I get into it. So, for my own sanity, I spoiler myself. But I spoiler myself. It's one of these things I've tried to explain to my buddies. I don't want the developer to spoil the story for me. If I'm going to go into a spooky game, I want to be surprised. If I want to go into a surprise within genre limitations, obviously. Like, don't just make a game that looks like it's a cute horror game and then, I don't know, suddenly turn into Goru. Okay, just don't do it. Without letting people know that this is going to be a rated M for mature experience and may have blood and gore or anything. Literally just anything to let people know that they're about to get fucked up. Same thing with erotica. Like, I don't want to be spoiled for every exact kink inside it, but if you're going to have one that might be a bit upsetting to people, just let us know. You don't even have to use, like, the official realistic terms. If you got lolly in there, you don't have to say there's lolly. You could use something else like age play or anything. Just, don't shock us like Claire's Quest Gold does. Good lord, that intro to that game. I mean, I knew it was going to be kind of rapey, but I didn't expect it to go in the direction it did in the first scene. Oh boy, that one was messed up. Like, I mean, some Elfen Lied style stuff almost. But whatever, it's the developer's goal. I just wish they would have said something in their warning. But no, they did not and lied to you. And I think that's the thing I have a problem with, is the lying. It's like, it's one thing if you surprise people and it's like my fault for not doing my research. It's another thing if you directly lie to the audience. Like, if you had a game that looked cute and friendly. Nah, that doesn't... I like my cute horror to be surprising. It's really not surprising, but it is true. If you had like a rated E for everyone cute horror game, and then halfway through, it just turns into like Doom Slayer with blood and guts everywhere, like you just broke the rated E for everyone rating. You're not there anymore. You probably should have let people know it was rated M, and you lied to them when you said it was rated E. Now, if you let us know it's rated M and it looks cute, and we think that it might just be like, oh, there's some drug reference, and then boom, horror, that's a little bit different, because at least we have the genre expectation, or the rating expectations to work with. We know it's not going to be for kids, so we are left wondering what part won't be for kids, and that helps a lot. Just don't lie to your audience, please. And that is a little off topic, but it is important to my goal as a writer, because I used to have a little bit different opinions on this. I was like, it was still don't lie to your audience, but you don't have to hold their hand. And as I developed more as an author, and I wrote more stories, and 10 years ago I started writing fan fiction and publishing it, some of the first publishing works I've ever done. I quickly came to realize that, there's a few things that people are a little more sensitive to, and although you don't necessarily have to hold everyone's hand, you can at the very least put in a spoiler tag so people have to manually hover over it and read what could be in there that might upset some random person. Okay? You don't have to do it. If at the very least you say it's inspired by anime, I'm going to expect really dark stuff, probably some pee, and who knows what else. But like I've seen hentai. I know what's in there. Everyone should know what hentai has on average. But that's the thing, is I try not to lie to my audience, and that became a big part of my core. What's interesting, though, is when I look back at some of those old stories that I wrote when I was 12, I still have a couple of those, and I still have, I used to have the comics that I drew. Those seem to all be gone now, which is absolutely heartbreaking, because, holy shit, when I was 12, I did draw some absolutely god-awful erotica. I drew some hentai comics of, like, lesbian Misty Ash's mom kind of stuff. Wasn't always the most creative. But I had a whole stick figure series of comics that were about my superhero cast, and this included stuff like the main character's sister has some weird alt personality that makes her lust after the main character, so a little bit of incest. That's me. I had some Yuri themes, and I hadn't actually put together that Yuri was a thing yet. I just knew that I liked it. I still have one picture from that time period of, I think it's Jesse from Team Rocket and Misty making out, and they're nude, but you don't see anything. And for a long time I saw that, and it just sort of burned itself into my brain as this is the goal to strive for. I didn't even put it together at that time. It wasn't until a few years later when I played Tales of Vesperia that I was like, wait, holy shit. Yuri is actually a thing. It's a genre, and I think it's my favorite thing of all time, and I've been making it on and off without realizing it for years. So when I finally got into making Yuri, it was really nice. Eventually got into Adventure Time, and although I do love shipping Finn with all the girls, I do prefer Finn Celine now, but it's really tied with Bubblegum X Marceline, because, you can't get rid of a good Yuri combo. You just can't. And then later on, I discovered My Little Pony, and when I first saw it, my brain thought, this is Yuri heaven. This is the best place I've ever seen to ship Yuri characters together. How have I not watched this before? And I know why. My friends just did not make it sound interesting. It wasn't until they told me that some of my favorite songs, Discord from The Living Tombstone and Rainbow Factory from Wooden Toaster, were actually Brony songs, that I was like, huh, I guess I'll give it a shot and see. And I'm glad I discovered it, because it was in a really dark period of time for me, and I really needed that safe home of light. And that's what I think I really valued about it, is it's an escape from reality. Reality kind of sucks. It's depressing, it's messy, there's a lot of politics and nightmare stuff that you just can't deal with. The world is big and huge and terrifying, and you don't have enough power as an individual to really make yourself feel safe. So you need a place to escape to mentally, emotionally. You need fiction to go into and, at least for just a few minutes, turn off your brain and not think about how messed up the world is. And that's what I think fiction is really good for, what entertainment is really good for. And that's where I feel that the woke politics have completely messed things up. That woke politics are unable to separate the idea of fictional escapism with reality and their political agendas, their activist agendas, which, at one point in time, there could be both fictional escape movies for the masses, because most people just need to escape for a little while, and the activist movies, which were for the activists that want to focus on this and clap themselves on the back and say, "Good job, you pointed out something that was wrong with the world for 2 hours." And you could have both, and people could enjoy whatever they want when they wanted. And that's not really a thing that's happening so much anymore, and it's challenging because, like I said, you need that safe place to escape from sometimes. Sometimes you're in a really dark pit, and you need My Little Pony Friendship is Magic to run away to and feel safe for just 30 minutes at a time. The only reason I survived that dark period of time and didn't freaking off myself or something is that I had that ability to escape and then rebuild myself. And we live in a world where it's becoming harder and harder to do that with modern stuff, so you gotta go back in time to escape in older things. Even modern My Little Pony Generation 5 has kind of dropped the freaking ball on this. And I'm like, where did sanity go? Why don't we just have sanity anymore? We have a place to escape and relax, but alas, we don't. And so a lot of my goals as a creator, a storyteller now, are to offer that escapism for people. And although I got an idea for something that's sort of an offensive, lewd comedy series, the likes of which of South Park, my struggle is, how do I make that but also keep the flavor of escapism? Because I don't want to hammer people in the head with messages, and I don't think I'd be very good at it. Matt and Trey are really good at this. I don't think I'd be subtle. So I just want to make something that's offensive and funny and lewd, but you can escape into. And it's been a little bit difficult, but I think I'm starting to get an idea forming. And we'll see where that goes. But I feel like my core values as a creator have really strengthened in the past couple of years. I may have burnt myself out because I just didn't give myself a break for 2 years of writing and game development or anything, but I'm starting to get back into the swing of things, and I think that the future is only endless possibilities, and maybe I can help make some of that delicious escapism that people need, to help give them a safe place to escape into for just a little while without having to think about the world. And if I could do that for even one person, I have succeeded at my goal. I have made the world brighter for just one person, and that's enough. And thankfully, I got a bunch of persons that seem to like my stuff. I don't understand why, but hey, if you're listening to this and you like the stuff I make, thank you. And because I am going way over time here and you've been staring at a black screen for a little while, I just want to say thank you for listening to this. Wherever you are, whoever you are, and whenever you are, I hope you have a wonderful day. Adios.